My name's Ria. I'm just an ordinary girl, and I live in a quiet neighborhood where everyone knows everyone. Today, I want to share a story that isn't exactly mine, but it's so close to home that it feels like I was living through it myself. It's about my younger sister, her old friends, and how something that should have been nothing more than a silly fight between kids spiraled into a full-blown family drama that nearly tore apart reputations, friendships, and peace of mind. To give you a full picture, I'll need to go back a little. My sister's 13. She's always been the type to make friends quickly, and back when she was in third grade, she met this pair of twins. Let's call them Janet and Gina. The three of them clicked instantly. The twins were wild, fun, and full of energy, the type of kids who could never sit still for long. My sister loved that. It was like every day with them was an adventure. Over time, even my mom got close to their mom. The moms ended up becoming best friends too, and that bond lasted years. But of course, nothing stays the same forever. By the time 7th grade rolled around, the school did a big shuffle with classes. My sister ended up in one section, and the twins landed in another. It wasn't the end of the world, but slowly they drifted. They still stood high, they still talked, but the closeness wasn't there anymore. They became more like casual old friends who used to be inseparable once upon a time. Meanwhile, the moms stayed just as close, almost like sisters themselves. That's the background. Now, let's dive into the real drama. There's something important you should know about the twins before I go further. They're not bad kids, but they have a reputation. They love to gossip, they tease, and when they get into an argument, especially when they believe they're right, they can be ruthless with words. It's a double-edged sword. It makes them fun and bold, but it also makes them easy targets for bigger conflicts. The whole mess started with Janet. She's part of Scouts and Guides, and last Saturday she went on this camp. It was a mixed group, around 15 teens, ages 12 to 15. They were just kids looking forward to a weekend of adventure. Everything was fine until a break in activities when Janet was goofing around. She was hopping around in just her socks with a couple of other kids, laughing and being silly. A senior, Swafi, who was in 10th grade, told them all to sit down and behave. It was nothing serious. But in the middle of the chaos, Janet accidentally stepped on the shawl of another girl from her own class. Let's call her PJ. Now, Janet swears she immediately apologized. She knew it was an accident and she didn't want to make it worse. But PJ didn't take it lightly. She snapped at Janet with something really sharp. You people wouldn't know what manners are. You live in such an awful place. That cut deep. See, where Janet lives, the neighborhood used to have a bad reputation decades ago. Back in the 1980s, maybe it wasn't the best place, but times changed. Today, it's full of respectable, well-off families. They just show off their success differently. More gold jewelry, more property investments, not so much flashy gadgets or cars. But to say that they were uncultured, that was insulting. Janet got defensive. She shot back with, "Just because you're rich, you can't look down on us." It was a fair response, but the tension was already thick. Swati, the senior, stepped in, forced both of them to apologize, and tried to put an end to it. For a while, it seemed like that was it. But of course, it wasn't. Later that day, at lunchtime, things escalated again. The kids from Janet's school realized nobody had been told to bring a plate. The teacher asked to help her to go buy some, and in the meantime, everyone was waiting hungrily. Janet, being Janet, asked another girl if the person standing a little distance away was the one who'd been sent to get the plates. It was an innocent question, casual curiosity. Before anyone could answer, PJ jumped in with a snide remark. "That's my bodyguard." Janet was confused. She asked, "Wait, your dad's a police officer, right? So he has guards, but why do you need a bodyguard?" She wasn't trying to insult her. She was just clueless. She genuinely wanted to understand. But PJ lost it. She blew up yelling, "How dare you talk about my dad like that?" She ran to the teacher, twisted the story to make it sound like Janet had insulted her father on purpose, and created a whole scene. Other kids tried to defend Janet and explain what really happened, but the teacher just shut everyone down and sided with PJ. That could have been the end of it, but it was only the beginning. On Monday, PJ's mom showed up at school. She filed a formal complaint saying Janet and her so-called gang were bullying PJ. She claimed PJ couldn't study, couldn't build genuine friendships, and was suffering because of Janet. But she didn't stop at the complaint. She actually confronted Janet in person at school, yelling at her in front of everyone. Janet tried to stand her ground. She wasn't rude, she just tried to explain. But imagine being a 13-year-old cornered by an angry adult while your own teacher shuts you down for talking back. It broke her. She ended up in tears, had an anxiety attack, and even developed a fever. Where we live, anxiety isn't taken seriously. It's brushed off as drama. But anyone who saw her knew it was real. Things only got worse. PJ's mom called Janet's mom directly. Instead of trying to talk things out, she insulted her. She mocked where she came from, questioned her parenting, and even threatened that she wouldn't rest until scumbags like Janet and Gina are expelled from school. Janet's mom was stunned. And then, as if to rub salt in the wound, she got a call from school saying Janet was sick and needed to be picked up early. When she met with the staff, she felt like they were biased, leaning towards PJ's mom. The next day, she marched straight into the principal's office and laid out everything. The camp fight, PJ's insults, the twisted stories, the harassment from PJ's mom. The principal reassured her, told her not to worry, promised no one would get expelled, and said she'd handle everything after Teacher's Day. That gave Janet some relief. But PJ's mom wasn't finished.
She started calling other parents, spreading rumors about Jeanette and Gina, telling them to keep their kids away from the twins. It was pure character assassination. Some parents even reached out to Jeanette's mom, confused about why PJ's mom was acting this way over a kid's argument. But even then, PJ's mom escalated further. She went back to school, cornered the class teacher, and once again painted the twins as villains. The teacher, just trying to get rid of her, told her that she'd ask another student to avoid talking to the twins. She probably thought it would calm PJ's mom down. Instead, it backfired. PJ used it as fuel. She later confronted Gina directly, mocking her by asking if Jeanette was absent because she was too scared to come to school. Gina stayed quiet. She went home, told her mom everything, and the very next day, her mom confronted the class teacher. To her credit, the teacher admitted she'd made a mistake and admitted PJ's mom was pushing things way too far. That week, once Jeanette was well enough to return, the teacher even sat all three girls down to try and resolve the mess. For a moment, it looked like things were calming down, but then Friday came and the situation went off the rails. PJ, her mom, and her dad actually showed up at Jeanette's house in a police car. They didn't knock politely or wait at the door. They barged in, sat themselves down, and announced they were there because the school wasn't taking action, so they had come to set things straight. Jeanette's mom was understandably stunned. She asked why they were there when the principal was supposed to handle everything. PJ's father, a cop, snapped back that she hadn't even welcomed them properly, hadn't smiled, and added that since the school wasn't acting, she should keep her own house in order. PJ's mom started bragging about their wealth, sneering at Jeanette's family, asking how they could ever compare. That was the last straw for Jeanette's mom. She shouted back saying they had no right to insult her family or her community. The response? PJ's parents doubled down, accusing Jeanette and Gina of ruining PJ's school life, of being part of a group that gave PJ a cruel nickname that spread across the class. Jeanette's mom pointed out the obvious. If it was a group, why was only her daughter being singled out? They had no real answer. They just circled back to insults and accusations. At that point, Jeanette's mom realized the situation wasn't going to stop on its own. She called her husband, who then reached out to a parent friend. someone who happened to be a personal assistant to a minister. Meanwhile, when the class teacher didn't answer her phone, Jeanette's mom contacted the PE teacher, who alerted the principal. As all of this was happening, the twins tried to defend their mom during the confrontation. They asked PJ why she kept lying, why she couldn't admit to her own bad behavior. PJ's mom snapped back, saying, "My daughter would never lie. Maybe your neighborhood taught you to lie, but at least your mom should have taught you manners." It was brutal. But then the phone rang. It was the minister's PA. Jeanette's mom put the call on speaker, and immediately the tone of the room shifted. The PA grilled PJ's dad, asked him which police station he was from, why he was abusing his position by using a government vehicle for personal grudges. He warned him never to mix his job with his family issues again. Then, as if that wasn't enough, the principal herself called PJ's mom and ordered her to leave Jeanette's house immediately. Cornered and embarrassed, PJ's family left in a hurry. But the damage was done. Jeanette's mom was furious, not just at PJ's family, but at the fact that her kids had been dragged into something so messy. Relatives living nearby heard about the whole confrontation and felt embarrassed. Jeanette's mom was also upset that the twins had spoken up during the fight, worried it would make them look disrespectful, even though they were just trying to defend her. Right now, she's planning to meet the principal again on Monday, determined to set the record straight once and for all. But the truth is, no one knows what PJ's mom is planning next. The whole neighborhood is buzzing about the drama, and kids at school whisper about it constantly. As for my sister, she just shakes her head whenever PJ's name comes up. She says PJ never stops bragging, always talks about money and influence, and threatens to get kids expelled whenever she doesn't get her way. And honestly, after everything that's happened, I can't disagree. That's the story. Long, messy, and still unresolved. All of it started with an accident at a camp, and it spiraled into adults barging into houses and police cars, insults flying, and authority being abused. It's hard to believe it's real sometimes, but this is the kind of thing you can't make up. And while I know kids fight all the time, it's the adults in this story who made it ugly. And that's where I'll leave it for now, because I have a feeling this isn't the end.